All right, everybody on the Unhinged Sports Network and your regular podcast platform. We are back here within the marbles. Kind of a fast episode, I would say.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of stuff planned for this episode that didn't come to fruition as planned. But, oh well, that's life. Sometimes you just got to pick yourself up and move on. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. But, man, I'm quite excited about this next segment here. I am. Because what we haven't done in a while, and regular fans of the show will know that we love to do, and it's about the Gen 7 car, and a lot of comments on there, which is perfect for a Hey Man.
Hey Man. Hey Man.
So, again, Hey Man, for those of you who don't know, is a segment we like to do is where we find an interesting news story. In this case, the reaction to the Gen 7 car and what's come out of the testing from the past couple weeks in the Roval and the Oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we like to read the comments, and we picked a few out, and we'll dive more and deeply into that. But Preston, I'm going to start with you. Your first comment for this week's Hey Man.
All right, so this guy, excuse me, his name is John, and I don't know where he was really going with this comment because this thing is just all over the place. And I'm going to try to read it to you, but it's definitely not going to make sense for the people at home, that's the reason why. So John says, but you still not telling us what it's going to be. Is it why? Keep it a big secret. But then again, it doesn't matter. Hendrick Motorsports is going to be dominant next season with Chevrolet Camaros. Hey, man. First of all, was Hendrick Motorsports really dominant this past season to begin with?
No, I think the playoff formats played into their favor.
Yeah.
And more so than that. But, yeah, they weren't really dominant. But, okay, I'm going to need you to who's keeping a secret from who here?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I guess he's saying that NASCAR's keeping a secret from us, the fans in general. Something they're not telling us something else. I don't know. I mean, there's another comment right under that's even like.
Oh, okay. Read that one.
Okay, Mike says it's no longer, in quotations, he puts stock car racing, which is sad. That was the sport I loved. I mean, we could get technical here. It hasn't been stock car racing
since like the 80s. I feel like the last really stock cars off the showroom floor were the 80s, and they just lowered it and took everything out and put roll cages in it.
Right.
But that's not where we're at anymore.
No,
you can't do that anymore. The speeds we're running and the safety and all of that stuff. No, you can't
exactly.
do that. You can't regulate that.
Mm-mm.
But I got one, and a lot of people are willing to die on this hill. I'm not one of them. I'm actually looking forward to it. The single lug nut.
Yes.
It's different. A lot of people are comparing it to Formula One. I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's not going to really matter to me. I'm more fighting against a number being moved, but after the All-Star race, it's like, that wasn't horrible.
All right.
But this guy, Donnie, said, man, been waiting for FIR. F-I-R. Been wishing for this one lug nut thing for a long time. No more leaving a lug nut or two off to gain time in the pits. He makes a good point there.
Mm-hmm.
Also looking forward to seeing the cars next year on Bristol dirt. Next year we'll be adding more road courses, which I've been saying for years as well.
Hey, man.
Spell check, Donnie. Spell check. That's all I'm going to say. And the thing about that is, and we could go more, and this is why we like doing Hey Man too. We can kind of dig more deeper into that. Bristol dirt, I want to go there just to see if it'll fall on its face. I hope not. But I'm not really looking forward to that, but I'm going to go. I'm going to try to go just to say I was there for the dirt race. Second of all, I'm not a big road course guy. The Roval's a good one because you can see it all, but for your typical road course races, Caroline and I went to Watkins Glen with Charlie, as a matter of fact, and we saw them coming down the front stretch and going into turn one, and then had to watch the rest of the race on the screen. And not a big road course guy. But, hey, man, thanks, Donnie, for your comments.
Hey, I like that.
For. All right, what do you got?
So, Speaking of what Donnie had just said, there was a gentleman by the name of Mark, and he said, so this is diving a little bit more deeper into the single lug nut thing. He says, I have no problem with the new cars. I do not like the single hub. The pit stops make or break a race, loose wheels, and etc. Hey, man. First of all, who says that single lug nuts are not going to make or break a race? Obviously have never watched a Formula One race.
I remember clearly, like, it was, I forget when it was, but I remember seeing it. The lug nut getting caught up on the tire. I think it was like Bottas or something, and he lost a race. I remember I think it was 2016, Ricardo didn't even have his tires in the pits and lost the Monaco Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. You can still lose races in the pits with single lug nuts, 5 lug nuts, 10 lug nuts. It doesn't matter.
I mean, who knows how the pit crews are going to approach this whole single lug nut thing, because in Formula One, you have so many guys that are right there in pit lane. You have a single tire changer for every single tire in Formula One. They're already staged and everything. We're talking about a crew of, 5 people coming over the wall. I mean, just because they're not going to hit 5 lug nuts anymore and they're going to be hitting 1 doesn't make any kind of difference. And you could still mess that up.
And it's in the Cup Series that's only going to 1. The truck and Xfinity East are going to have 5 off, 5 on lug nut pit stops, so don't worry about that. It's just one of those things, man.
I'm just saying, you can still mess up a single lug nut. It can still happen.
You could.
With like I said, with the way NASCAR pit crews are, I mean, we're talking about coming over a wall and changing one side and then going to the other. I mean, like I said, with Formula One, they still mess that up, and they have a guy for every single tire changing it. He's already sitting there.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to wait and see. T-shirts available on teespring.com. All right. Well, I got one here, and it's from Nolan, and we could dive a little more deeper into this one because he makes some good points that we've brought up on the show a lot of times. Nolan said, I just want great racing and to see more drivers' personalities again. We've seen more of the latter recently, but NASCAR penalizes them anytime they say something they don't like. Being NASCAR, they penalize them. American sports needs to be have more American values like freedom of speech. Let them talk and let's see what happens. To what they are. Let them talk and see if there's something that we need to fix. It's just their opinion and fans want to hear it. Now, he's referring to back when the next gen car came out, the car of tomorrow. First thing Kyle Busch said when he won, it's like, I don't like them. They're crappy to drive.
Yeah.
Darrell Waltrip said in 2009, I believe it was the Coca-Cola 600, he was bashing the car tomorrow. He didn't like it. Drivers didn't like it. Mike Helton got mad at him. It was like for 15 minutes, shoot him out for it. But, man, I agree. I think, there are 40 drivers who drive these cars. It isn't like you and I are going to have a chance anytime soon to get into a Gen 7 car and take it around the track and have anything to compare it to if we did. But I'm kind of with him. Let the muffles come off and talk about it. And they're going to bash us. They're not bashing the sport. They're bashing what we could do to make it better. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about that. But I see his point. I see Donnie's point there.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the drivers have the passion for it. It's just we just haven't really been able to see them really, throw their ideas out there, I guess you could say. I mean, it's not like the old days for sure when it wasn't, the drivers weren't just bashing the cars or safety, and they were bashing other people too, calling other drivers stupid or something. We don't really see that anymore these days, and you kind of miss things like that. A good point I like to compare it to was Charlotte years and years ago when Keselowski and Hamlin were getting to it on the track, and then Kenseth was putting Keselowski in a headlock back in the garage area. Yeah. And he was like, I got all my stuff off, and this guy's wrecking everybody and everything. He's just stupid. And then, you miss things like that. That's the great part about racing. But I feel like NASCAR is kind of, I think they don't like it when drivers talk bad about things that they do.
But and you can't blame NASCAR for that. You can't blame them and say, we've been investing millions of dollars into this product for one's better quality of racing, which I don't even understand why they need to upgrade cars all the time. I get it. Make it look more like a street car, whatever, a stock car. But you don't need to go crazy. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Use the KISS method in that, because I think that would be the way to go as far as designing the car. Make it a little harder to drive. Make them sideways, high horsepower, low downforce. That was fun racing. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
We'll have to wait and see. It's just one of those things where I feel only time will tell, and hopefully here in the next couple years we'll get to see something here.
Maybe we'll look back on this episode and we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, we'll say either if it's gone up or down.
Yeah. So
okay. So you got another one?
Yeah. So Fred says, are they going to take the SC out of NASCAR? They can call it NAAR, National Association of Airhead Racers. Hey, man.
It makes no sense.
That does not make any sense whatsoever.
Put a limiter on what that guy can post and not. All right. And another one we could dive deeper down into, it's from Dennis. Dennis says, hey, I got an idea. What if we took the cars out of the showroom, tore out the interiors, welded a roll cage in there, and welded the doors shut? Put a bucket seat in there and grab some good seat belts. Paint a car number on the door and go racing. We could call it stock car racing. Could charge $10 a seat, for the grandstands will be full instead of painted seats. He makes a good point. Who would buy lots and lots full of people, and the seats will be full of people who would buy lots and lots of $2 hamburgers and beers, $1 hot dogs and sodas. Would be a lot of affordable fun for the common man and his family. The tracks would make money with the butts in the seats and having all those concessions. I wonder if anybody else has ever thought of this before.
Hey, man.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be, but
that's how NASCAR pretty much started.
But he brings up a good point, man. Do you think NASCAR, like Daytona, it's the biggest race of the year? Obviously, I'm willing to pay the money to go. It's not a cheap ticket. But do you think but you look at Darlington, and they I paid $60 to go to the Southern 500 last year. Do you think the tickets are too expensive?
Yes. So this was talked about for a while, which, I mean, I talked about it with, I've heard people talk about it. For a while, people thought that NASCAR was very expensive to go to for the product that they were really getting out of. And back years and years ago, at one time, I paid almost over $100 for a ticket just for Darlington, just to sit up high enough to see everything that was going on. And it's just like, you used to think, man, this is just ridiculous, the price that they're making me pay.
But you paid it.
But you still paid it.
But see, and that's the catch-22 of the whole thing. I remember my wife's aunt and uncle were IPTAY members for Clemson football. And they paid thousands of dollars to do it. And what IPTAY is I couldn't even explain. It's some kind of organization which puts money back into the sports program of the University of Clemson.
Right.
It's a booster club, I think.
That sounds like it. I think that's what it is.
In a sense. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, he was saying, for these spots, and they had a spot right next to the stadium for tailgating. They reserved it every year, walking distance. It was a great spot. But it's like, how much do you guys pay for this? And it's like, a lot. Like thousands. And I thought, who the heck would do that? But then I thought about it. It's like, well, if NASCAR had something like that where you put X amount of money into it, you get more out of it. So if I put $20 in for the year, maybe I'll get a little fast pass to go to the front of the line. If I put $100 in, I get VIP parking.
Right.
And just so on and so forth like that. If I put $1,000 in, I get infield camping at these specific tracks, or tent camping at so just one of those things. I would be more than willing to say, Darlington, I'll do this, and Atlanta, I'll do this, Daytona, Charlotte, and Talladega. Yeah, I'll pay money to be entered in for a chance, or not entered in, but have a spot reserved for go to the front of the lines and do this and that.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't done anything like that before. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, the concessions themselves, I don't buy anything from the concession stand because they're way too expensive.
Yeah,
I bring in 4 Cokes, 4 waters, 3 beers, 4 PB&Js, and some chips. That's all I need for the race.
I bring in like 20 hot dogs.
Yeah, I mean, you just need something simple. And then on top of that, my camera, my scanner, and that's it. Mm-hmm. That's all I bring to the racetrack with me every time I go. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, the memories, when you get there, you don't think about the price of the ticket. You're enjoying the show, especially if it's a Daytona, the Daytona 500. But I'm kind of with Donnie here. He brought up some good points. It's a kind of a horrible thing that they're doing here, but people are willing to pay it, and a product's only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
Does it make it sound like maybe NASCAR is a little disconnected with the fans then?
You could say NASCAR's been disconnected with the fans for a while now.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened this year. A lot of social issues have come up, and NASCAR said, no, we're doing this stance, and then everybody else is like, no, we want to be stuck in this way. And even Steve Phelps said, a couple of years ago on the Dale Jr. download, we've sacrificed 10 fans for one new one. I feel like they're still going down that path.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for another episode. Maybe, again, we'll try to get Steve Phelps on here.
That would be interesting.
To talk to him about that, because I'd be interested to see what he says in that aspect. Like, hey, what's going to happen here?
Right.
We'll see, man. But you got anything else?
No, just a lot of things that don't make sense. A lot of comments that are just way out there that don't make any kind of sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Anything. So.
Well, I got one more as far as the fans go, and it's from Bob. And Bob, wake up, NASCAR. We hate the direction you're going. Who are you trying to appeal to? Because you're driving all your diehard fans away.
Hey, man.
I'm not upset with the Gen 7 car. I'm looking forward to the Gen 7 car. Wish it was out for next year, but it's not. And I'm glad it's not, because it sounds like there needs to be a little more tweaking that needs to be done.
Yes.
But I will say that Bob doesn't speak for me. I don't, and we definitely don't speak for anybody else. We just have our own opinion, and we have the podcast. As for driving the hardcore fans away, I bet when the cars went over from the late 80s to early 90s and switched over, fans were upset. When they switched over from the late 90s to 2000s, fans were upset. This is just one of those shedding of the layers and growing more so, molting the skin and growing.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily mad at NASCAR for investing the time they have in this Gen 7 car, because, yeah, I think it's time for a new car. It's about that time, about 7-8 years since the old car came out.
Yeah, he's not speaking for me. I mean, diehard, as somebody who's been watching sport for almost my entire life, but not really knowing a whole lot about it growing up, but still, he's not speaking for me. Yeah, NASCAR drives. I mean, yeah, NASCAR's done things I don't like, for sure. I mean, we could go into it forever. I can tell you about the sun and the moon, about what they've done that I don't really like. So I still stick it out because it's racing, and I'm curious to see where they go. I mean, maybe it could turn around. What if NASCAR does? What if this move to the next generation car? What if something changes? What if we get better racing or something? Who knows?
Yeah, and I think
just have to stick it out, wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see, just like the T-shirt. But I will say this: I think for what NASCAR's doing, they're trying to keep up and not try to alienate fans. I think that's the last thing they would ever want to do. Any sport is to try to alienate a specific group of diehard fans.
Right.
Because if you're really a diehard fan of the sport and not necessarily a driver, the heck with the driver. A lot of fans said, "Oh, I'm done watching NASCAR after Dale Jr. retires." It's like, well, are you a fan of Dale Jr. or are you a fan of NASCAR?
Exactly. You don't see me saying I'm done watching after Paul Menard retired, even though he was really nobody.
Well, you don't see anybody saying I'm not going to pull for the Yankees anymore because Derek Jeter retired.
Yeah, then obviously you weren't a fan of the Yankees.
Yeah, then you're not a fan of the Yankees. You're a fan of Derek Jeter.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would say they're not trying to push fans away. I think they've made decisions in their best interest of the sport in the future that can promote a more welcoming environment. Not that it hasn't been welcoming before. I haven't seen one person be discriminated whatsoever at a NASCAR race.
No, I have never seen that happen.
Has
before.
it happened? I'm sure. You know, you mix alcohol in with anything, and it's going to get a little stupid at times.
Right.
But I've never, felt threatened at all with anybody at a NASCAR race, at any racetrack across the country, anywhere. I've always been welcomed with open arms by the staff and the fans and everybody else there in attendance.
Everybody has a great time. I mean,
I want to. I'm putting the challenge out there, and I'll throw it out on social media. Who has had a bad experience at a racetrack? Not because my tire was flat in the trailer.
Yeah.
Or my sewer overflowed. I'm talking were you specifically targeted for anything?
Oh.
Say we have an African American. Have you been discriminated whatsoever at a NASCAR track?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear, I saw a Confederate flag and I felt threatened. That's not what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I'm saying, were you verbally or physically assaulted at all at a NASCAR track?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm curious to hear what's going to happen because, I get it. We're all Americans that come here to the NASCAR races for the most part. But I've never had the experience. And if somebody else has had experience, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I really want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, I'm not here to try to justify what the people did to you. I just want to hear your story and just learn more about you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do that, drop us a message. But don't change everything for the sake of it's the cool thing to do at the moment. It's the time of the season to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't just go on a trend changing everything and canceling everything and doing this and doing that. Because at the moment in the climate of America, it always seems to just spike and then drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then something else happens and spikes and it drops. And this isn't a political show. We're not trying to make it political. But we're just going down this rabbit hole. And I'm curious to see, NASCAR banned the Confederate flag, like it or not. We've said it before on the show, we're not a fan of a piece of cloth doesn't make me a fan of the sport.
Yeah.
But did that really change people's mindset of NASCAR?
For a lot of people, it did. I mean, a lot of people were upset about it for sure.
Yeah, they were. I mean, guys enough to take their money, fill up an airplane, buy a big banner and saying boycott NASCAR.
Yeah.
And fly it over Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what your viewpoint on that is, and we've discussed that, go listen to, big decisions in NASCAR. Forget what episode, but it's further down in the podcast list. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you can't really do anything. But again, I'd like to throw that out there to the fans if anybody's been felt discriminated at a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
I would really like to know that. But that was our Hey Man. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up here on this Thanksgiving episode with our driver of the week, This Week in NASCAR, and final thoughts coming up here. If you're on the Unhinged Sports Network, you're going to get some ad reads. And if you're on your regular podcast platform, we're getting ready to get into our final thoughts and wrap up the show.